Yo, what's happening, people? And welcome back to the GavGoesIn podcast. So, guys, obviously, my edition that I've been doing on, player spotlight, and today's edition brings me to two players, that I believe, two of the best young players in world football right now. Two players that I would say, in terms of the national team for sure, they're probably the two players that the majority of fans for their national team are looking at them to lead them to, whether it be European Championships or the World Cup. And that's none other than Florian Wirtz and Jamal Musiala. Obviously, both one's at Bayer Leverkusen, one's at Bayern Munich. I think Florian Wirtz has been rumoured, to be going to Bayern Munich, and again, there was a poll that I done recently, actually. So big up everyone for contributing. So I said, where is Florian Wirtz's most likely destination? So the options were Barcelona, Man City, Bayern Munich, or Real Madrid. Now, obviously, if we talk about Real Madrid first and foremost, obviously Xabi Alonso is going to be taking charge at the end of the season. And obviously, he's actually at Bayer Leverkusen at the moment. And obviously, the links to Florian Wirtz going there, you can see, is probably ideal. Because obviously, he's just finished managing Florian Wirtz. Do I believe he goes to Real Madrid? I don't. I think, again, everyone will be looking at the likes that Xabi Alonso is there, and it's ideal for him to go there. But as I've mentioned previously, I think the fact that Real Madrid, have a lot of individual stars there, I think Florian Wirtz going there, he'll be another one. And I think he could get lost in terms of the amount of players they have that would want to be at the forefront of the team. Now, you would imagine that because Xabi Alonso's going there, he would be a key player there. But for me, I just think for his development still, I think he needs to go to a team where he's going to be the main player or the main creative outlet for that team, So I don't see him going to Real Madrid. Barcelona, again, for me, he'll be an ideal Barcelona player. Obviously the way Barcelona play, as I've said, if he was to play alongside the likes of Lamine Yamal, Pedri, Frankie de Jong, what an attacking four that would be, or a midfield four that would be. And for me, he would slot in there seamlessly. Obviously he could play as a left of a three in central midfield, or he can play as a 10, or obviously he can play as part of the front three from the left. So he's very adaptable to be playing all three positions for me. And again, he would be ideal for Barcelona because he's a Barcelona type player. Obviously, the only stumbling block there would be the finances. So I think Bayer Leverkusen would ask for at least 100 million for him, at the age that he is and the quality that he has. So it's unlikely that Barca do go in for him. But if we're talking purely, from aesthetics, the way that he plays, then it's a seamless transition for him going to Barcelona. But again, the fee is going to prove the issue because, as we know, Barcelona and their finances are not good. So you'd think it's unlikely he goes there. But you never know. Barca could, get a cash injection. They could sell someone and free up some space. So you just don't know. But I think at the moment, it's pretty unlikely. And then it brings me to the two other clubs that I think it is more likely that Florian Wirtz will go to. I think if we're looking at Man City, obviously Kevin De Bruyne leaving, and he's an ideal player to replace De Bruyne, as the main creative number 10 there. And again, I think in terms of the fee, I think Man City have shown that they can fork out about 100 million for a player, as they've done with Jack Grealish. So I think if Man City made their interest known, and Wirtz gives them the go-ahead, then I think it'll be a great signing for Man City, and a great move for Florian Wirtz to showcase, again, why he's one of the most talked about players in Europe. And then we look at Bayern Munich. Now, the history of Bayern Munich, as we know, Bayern always buy the best players from the other teams in the league. You look at Mario Götze, you look at Robert Lewandowski, I'm pretty sure there's some other players there as well. If any, can't remember, but those two are the most notable ones. And you would think with Florian Wirtz being, you know, one of Germany's biggest talents, you'd think that he'll go there as well. Which again, I can see. I just think if Wirtz wants to test himself, I think he does need to probably leave that league and go to either England or Spain for me, you know. And I think either move would be great for him. But again, the Bayern Munich links to him going there, you can see. But me personally, I would like to see him go abroad. But we'd have to wait and see, you know. So, and of course, Jamal Musiala, you know, if Wirtz does go to Bayern Munich, you know, you're going to have, again, two of the best young players in Europe, both playing really as number 10s, you know, and the same thing's happening for German national team. So them doing it for Bayern Munich would seem ideal. However, I think, you know, I'd prefer to see one at a different club, you know, because I don't want to see both players getting overshadowed by the other, you know. But again, we'll have to wait and see. But I think for sure there's going to be massive interest in him. And we'll have to wait to see what club firms up their interest in Florian Wirtz. So, guys, what I've done, I've gone through, you know, the stats from both players, Florian Wirtz and Jamal Musiala. And for me, you know, again, I'm not someone that is massive on stats because the eye test, you know, first and foremost is what I look at. But I've just got these stats in just to kind of see where both players are at and see how they're performing. So we're going to start off on Florian Wirtz. So, and the thing is, guys, when I was doing this, you know, it's mad to see how identical these two players are, you know, in terms of similar appearances throughout the years. You know, a lot of the stats here are a lot of, well, say stats, the numbers, should I say, are very, very similar, you know. And if we go through it, Florian Wirtz is 22 and made his debut at 17 for Bayer Leverkusen. And that's the exact same as Jamal Musiala. Jamal Musiala is 22 now, and he made his debut for Bayern Munich at 17. So, you know, mad how both players, both German internationals, you know, both similar players in terms of number 10s. And they've got similar numbers, you know. So for Bayer Leverkusen, so Wirtz has had 139 appearances with a return of 35 goals and 44 assists, 79 GA in total, which is decent. In the Champions League and obviously Europa League, he's had 9 appearances, 6 goals and 1 assist. And then in Europa League, he's had 33 appearances, 12 goals, 10 assists. And he has had a total of 195 club appearances with a return in terms of goal and assists, 117, which is mad. And for Germany, he's got 6 goals and 4 assists in 29 appearances. So as I said, so in total, you know, he's had 224 appearances for Bayer Leverkusen and the German national team with a return of 127 GA, you know, which is averaging at more or less a goal or assist a game, you know, which is great doing, you know. And again, Wirtz is only 22 years of age, so he can only get better, you know. And for me, you know, I think he's probably the next big attacking midfielder in Europe, you know, centrally. And as I said, it's going to be interesting to see where he goes. You know, I think a lot of people are pointing towards Bayern Munich. But I think if Man City want to get back to amongst the elite, they need to just, as I said, man, they need to be serious and just make their intentions known. Because what a game changer he will be, you know. So, as I said, his numbers, you know, 127 in 224 for Germany and for Bayer Leverkusen. And as I said, what I like about Florian Wirtz, you know, with all top players, it's the composure on the ball. You know, he's passing, he's shooting, he's dribbling are all elite, you know, very creative as well. And he's someone that can play multiple positions. You know, for me, his strongest position is a number 10. But in the Bayer Leverkusen system, he more or less has a free role. You know, so he might start out on the left, but drift into the centre, you know. And again, because they play with the three at the back and the two wing backs, you know, he's always likely to come inside, you know, and create where you've got Grimaldo on that left-hand side, you know, bombing up and down the wing. And again, this is where Florian Wirtz thrives, you know. And as I said, you know, he was someone that I would love Man United to sign, but I think as it stands, that's not going to happen. You know, even if United do get Champions League football, you know, it's a non-starter really. I would love someone like him at Man United, but yeah, you can't see that happening. But as I said, I think in the summer, you're going to see some big noise about Florian Wirtz, man. So it will be interesting to see where he actually, where he goes. And then we've got Jamal Musiala. So again, as I mentioned, guys, Musiala and Wirtz, very similar. So Musiala, 22 years of age, obviously made his debut for Bayern Munich at 17. So his appearances for Bayern Munich, 139 appearances, 45 goals, 24 assists, for a total of 69 GA. So again, very similar to Florian Wirtz, but just 10 short. And then in the Champions League, he's had 46 appearances, 7 goals, 4 assists, for a total of 11 GA. And then in the German Cup as well, he's got 12 appearances, 9 goals and 1 assist, with a total of 10 GA. And for Germany, he's got 40 appearances, 8 goals, and yeah, no assists, I think, which is, when I see that, I was surprised. I don't think he's got any assists. You know, I could be wrong, but I was looking at some of their stats today and I was thinking some of them are actually surprising, you know. But he's got 40 appearances, Musiala, 8 goals. I'm pretty sure he must have an assist, but from what I see, I couldn't see any assists, you know. And overall, so club and international, he's got 237 appearances with a return of 104 GA for Jamal Musiala, which again he's averaging, you know, a goal or assist every 2 games, you know. So again, Florian Wirtz does edge Jamal Musiala in that regard, you know. But I would say Florian Wirtz is more of a goal threat for me than Jamal Musiala. I think where Musiala does his dangerous work is in the final third, you know, with his dribbling and his relentless energy to just get on the ball, you know, and try and take on his man. I think the one thing with Jamal Musiala is at times his end product isn't there, you know, because so many times you watch him, you know, he looks frightening, you know, and you know there's a lot of things he does well, but then the end product isn't always there, whether it's a shot, you know, or he might you know, lose the ball at times, you know. But I think in terms of his strengths, you know, as I said, his change of pace is very good, you know, his dribbling is very good, you know, his balance. I think someone like him, you know, should be scoring more goals than he does, you know. But what I would say is that, again, for what the kind of attacking midfielders that we have in football at the moment, you definitely say him along with Florian Wirtz are the leading two of the best at the moment in central areas, you know. And for me, who do I prefer, Wirtz or Musiala? I would have to say Wirtz for me, you know, because I think Wirtz just has that bit more than Musiala. You know, I think in terms of Wirtz's end product, you know, in terms of his eye for a pass, I think he does have that over Musiala. And I look at Musiala's game and I think, what does he do better than Florian Wirtz? And I think I would say his change of pace is probably better than Florian Wirtz. But in terms of, you know, his creating from that position, you know, the dribbling, I think dribbling, he's probably slightly better dribbler than Wirtz as well. I think Wirtz is more of a passer than he is a dribbler, and Musiala is more of a dribbler than he's a passer, you know. So for me, 2 great players in the making, you know, both same age. As I say, both made their debuts at the same time at 17. And 2 players for sure that are going to be leading Germany, you know, into the next generation to try and challenge for the European Championships or the World Cup, you know. But I would say for me, Florian Wirtz for me is slightly the better player, you know. But again, Jamal Musiala is a very good player as well, you know. And again, he's gonna have his say in the future as to who's gonna be talked about as the best young player in the game. You know, you got himself, you've got Wirtz, obviously Jamal and Doué are slightly younger. I'm gonna put Amad Diallo in that as well, because I think Amad Diallo, was he 22? You know, he's roughly the same age as them as well. You know, Amad Diallo can go to that level for sure, you know. And again, Pedri, another player. I think Pedri's about 21, 22, I think, as well. You know, so there's some very good young players out there. And I think these two, again, will be at the limelight of anything going forwards for both their clubs and national. And as I said, if Wirtz does go to Bayern Munich, you know, on paper it looks good. But I would say that, you know, I think both of them could get in each other's way, because they're both players that go into that playing club football. The team more or less needs to be revolved around them, you know. And I think if you've got two of them, someone could lose out. But then for the German national team, they could be trying to recreate that at the biggest club in Germany, and then obviously for the national team. So we'll have to wait and see. But guys, big up yourselves anyway. Let me know what you think in the comments. And as I said, I've got a poll coming out tomorrow as well at 2:30. Well, by the time you see the video, you might have seen it come out anyway. And again, it's relating to this video. So yeah, let me know what you think. Smash that like button, subscribe to my channel, and I'm going to catch you guys in a bit. Take it easy.